Stay tuned for a couple of clips about old trucks from Lindsey Crawford of Long Road Productions.
Well, this is our little 26 Dodge Brothers half-ton pickup, and it's my wife's pride and joy. She's a Dodge truck collector. She drives a new Dodge diesel truck herself, and she picked this out a couple of years ago at a car show in Prescott, Arizona. And the guy had it for sale there because the traffic in Prescott's getting pretty rowdy over there, and this poor old truck doesn't have any brakes on the front, and it's got push and pray brakes on the back. That means you push on the pedal and you pray that whatever's in front of you gets out of the road, because it ain't going to stop. And he wanted to upgrade to a muscle car, something that he could run with the traffic and feel safe in. So my wife has always wanted a little Model A pickup, but she decided that this Dodge Brothers would be a little rarer than a Model A and different. You know, it's something that everybody else don't have. So she made the deal, and she bought it with her mad money, and I have no idea how much money she's got in it. And she hasn't driven it yet in 2 years. She likes me to chauffeur her around in it, mainly because it doesn't have very good brakes. And we drive it a lot. We take it to town to have a beer, take it to town to have dinner in the evening, and we drive it on cruises, ATHS truck cruises, and other cruises. And it's a well-engineered little vehicle. Just one thing to show you here. When you open the windshield, run with the windshield open for the good air conditioning. Now somebody had to burn the midnight oil, lay awake, and figure out this engineering. Look how the hood opens with the windshield open, and there ain't a whisker's clearance in between there, and yet it doesn't touch when you open. You can open the hood all the way up either side of the hood. So that didn't just happen by accident. Somebody did some thinking. And you might want to come around and check the engine compartment over here. Nothing too fancy. It's actually called a Dodge Slow 4 engine. They had a Slow 4 and a Fast 4. I don't know how fast the Fast 4 would go, but this one will run 50 miles an hour without straining. And of course, you know, when this truck was built in 1926, all Henry had to offer was a poor old Model T. And the Chevys weren't even as good as that. So this was a real quality product. And of course, I read a lot of the history of the West, and especially about old vehicles and things. And I found it in more than one reference to the fact that on these steep mountain grades and getting over the passes out here, mostly the only way that a same period as this Chevy or a Ford ever got over the passes was tied on the back of one of these Dodges with a rope, because they had so much more torque and the right gearing, and they were used to tow the other vehicles over the top of the mountains. hills out here will fool you. They're really steep, you know. Some of the grades around here a bit steeper than 20%. This one up through here is about 12 to 14% grade. We're going up right now. What you're seeing out the left window is the terraces you see over there. That was the waste dump, the waste rock dump. 28 million tons of waste rock that came out of the open pit copper mine here at Jerome. And then down in the foreground of it, you'll see the ghost town that my wife and I own. We call it the Gold King Mine and Ghost Town. And it was one of Jerome's many suburbs. Jerome had 15,000 people in the city limits. In 1929, that made it the third largest city in Arizona. And there were another 3,000 people living in the suburbs. And there were about 12 or 13 suburbs like this one we own right here. And over here on the left again, you'll see two marks on the side of the mountain. The one that goes across the level is the railroad continuing on to where the railroad station above Jerome. The one that slopes down the hill was the old wagon road that brought passengers from the railroad down to Jerome in an old depot hack. So there was a railroad station right up here, and the passengers disembarked up here and rode the depot hack down to Jerome. And that little road that goes down to Jerome went right through our little ghost town. There used to be a little general store down there where the passengers would get off the depot hack and stop and have an orange crush or a Welch's grape juice or whatever they like, take a little breather, because it's quite a scary road down there. Now we're just getting up to the railroad grade, and there was a Y right here where they turned the trains around. There's a three-legged Y where they could back the trains out on another line and then come forward out of here, so they didn't have to back all the way out this railroad. Now this railroad was billed as the crookedest railroad in the world. It's 26 miles long, and it had 126 curves, and nearly all of the 126 curves were in the first 9 miles. It's a nice cut through here. This was a narrow gauge railroad, so they made the turns really tight, and the cuts are really narrow at the bottom because they didn't have to build such a big road bed for a narrow gauge railroad as they would a standard gauge. There's no way you could make a corner like we're making up here with a standard gauge railroad. Off to the ahead of us out here is the Verde Valley. It's 20 miles or 21 miles across the valley to the cliffs on the other side. And then the big pointed top mountain over there that sticks up so high, that's the highest point in Arizona. That's Mount Humphreys. It's part of the San Francisco Peaks at Flagstaff. And it'll be snow covered here just within the next few weeks. It'll be a snow top. And it stays that way usually till July. Now I see you're looking at the dash. Here's our ashtray, and here's the cigarette lighter. And this is first view. This is where everybody coming into Jerome in the late 1800s, early 1900s on the railroad train, they got their first view of the entire Verde Valley. And the town of Cottonwood and the town of Clarkdale that are down in the bottom of the valley. Their first view of all the Red Rock Cliffs over at Sedona. And then right straight ahead of us, their first view of Jerome in the distance straight ahead of us. So for some city slicker from New York City or Chicago, this had to be something pretty spectacular in 1895. Yeah, there's another rock slide in the road. could only talk. When I first opened our business 16 years ago, I spent a lot of time talking to the old timers in Jerome so I get the accurate history of what went on here and what was here. So when I talk to tourists every day, I could be giving them the right story. And 3 separate occasions I interviewed 3 old ladies who lived in Jerome, 2 of which have passed on. One's still alive in Jerome. And all 3 of them had a very similar story. One of them, in fact, was a mail order bride, Mrs. Combrusi, and they all came in on this narrow gauge railroad. And I asked these old ladies what they attributed it to that they were still in Jerome after all these years, and they said that they were still there because they were too scared to get back on the depot hack and go back up and get on the train and get out.